The breaking news now regarding singer R. Kelly. We are learning now he has been sentenced to 30 years in prison after being convicted of sex trafficking and racketeering in connection with recruiting women and children for sex. His attorney was asking for fewer than 14 years in prison, citing the music superstar turned sex offender's traumatic childhood. Clearly, that's not how the court saw it.
So for more, let's bring in senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky along with legal analyst Bernardo Villalona. So Aaron, first, tell us about what we heard from the accusers in this case and what they brought to the sentencing.
They brought some emotional heft to the sentencing hearing, Terry, because the accusers stood up in court and told the judge how years of psychological manipulation and sexual exploitation and abuse by R. Kelly ruined their lives. One woman said that she wished she would just die. And this is all while she was underage. And that was what federal prosecutors said was so troubling. R. Kelly was one of the most successful artists in the music industry in the 1990s and 2000s. But there had always been allegations about sexual misconduct. And only now is that getting an airing, and is he being held to account? Federal prosecutors said R. Kelly used his fame and his wealth and relied on his inner circle to repeatedly sexually exploit women and girls, and showed no remorse, and in fact seemed to believe that as a music superstar, he was somehow immune from having to behave lawfully.
So, Bernardo, defense attorneys for R. Kelly argued that their client should get a break, in part because he experienced a traumatic childhood. I know you're going to have a reaction to that.
So, yes, the defense did ask for R. Kelly to get a break. But before she asked for him to get a break, she made a statement to the gallery. And the judge has to stop her and say, make your statement to me, because she started saying that I am doing my job. It's not that I'm enabling R. Kelly. I'm doing my job. But either way, she wanted the judge to take into account his childhood, the trauma that he suffered during his childhood. And according to with federal law, with the 3553A factors, yes, a judge can consider that. However, what happened here is that we had one of the victim's father not testify, but actually make a statement to the judge. Look, I was sexually assaulted and molested when I was a child, and I did not turn out like you. So that backfired for R. Kelly. The judge took that into account and mentioned that when she was giving her reasoning for sentencing R. Kelly to 30 years.
That is very powerful and true. And Aaron, I want to ask you about the decades that you said he was one of the biggest stars in the music industry, as you pointed out. People had to know that the allegations were public for all these years. People still worked with him, and the criminal justice system didn't quite get to him until very, very late. How much of an impact did that documentary, Surviving R. Kelly, play and have in getting us here and in the nature of this sentence? If he had done the same crimes and wasn't the focus of a documentary, would he be looking at 30 years?
Surviving R. Kelly, that explosive documentary, played an incredible role in this prosecution. In fact, it was because an investigator from Homeland Security Investigations watched it on TV that they finally decided to open a case, and that's what led to this 30-year sentence. If it were not for that documentary, you might argue, Terry, that R. Kelly would not be here. But investigators saw it. They couldn't help but be moved by it. And then they started to interview some of the very same women who were part of that documentary. And they built this case using more than a half dozen women to help convict R. Kelly of racketeering. And that included a dozen separate criminal counts, including this psychological manipulation, this kidnapping, physical and sexual abuse. And it also included a bribery scheme involving his marriage to Aaliyah. The late singer was 15 years old when she married R. Kelly, and there's an allegation that a bribe was arranged to an Illinois official to get her a fake ID.
Bernardo, you were in the courtroom. Just give us some color. Tell us what it was like. I know that there were dozens of witnesses that testified, just talking about how R. Kelly preyed on children for his own gratification time and time again, and that he was able to get by with it, and that, like you mentioned, so many people close to him knew exactly what was going on.
Absolutely. During the trial, you got to think the prosecution presented 45 witnesses and the defense presented 5 witnesses. And to have been in a courtroom doing the trial and then coming today to the sentencing was a culmination of the trial. Except at the sentencing, you got to hear these victims give more emotion, tell you what they suffered and what they've been suffering for the last 20 years. Women who have been considering committing suicide, who wish they were never born, that they are saying that it was their fault. It was chilling. And the tears that came down, genuine tears from these grown women, was really troubling to me. It really bothered me because R. Kelly, yes, you're a celebrity. Yes, you're the Pied Piper. Yes, you're the king of R&B. But now you're also a sexually convicted felon who's going to do at least 27 years in federal custody.
Did he testify? We were on the air.
No.
Did he? Okay, he didn't testify. Did he give a statement?
He did not give his statement. The only statement he gave to the judge when the judge asked whether he wished to give a statement, the defense attorney said that he has open cases as well as he will have a pending appeal, and that it is his wish not to say anything to the court.
So, Aaron, what happens next here? Will there be more charges from other complaining witnesses, or is there a certain prison that he's likely to go to? What does his future look like?
Well, this is it as far as federal prosecutors in Brooklyn are concerned, but R. Kelly faces charges in other states, and now that he has been found guilty here, it could open the floodgates, and certainly prosecutors would like other women to come forward, or other men in this case, if they were somehow exploited or sexually abused by R. Kelly. They are still taking witness statements and are open to that. This was the main set of charges, though, and R. Kelly's defense was something that I think even the judge seemed to find offensive, that the defense said that these were women who were just out to get a little fame and a little bit of money, and they were chasing R. Kelly. It wasn't like he needed to go out and recruit them, but prosecutors said these were human beings, Aaron, who were severely mistreated.
So we're told R. Kelly's lawyer is speaking right now. We're going to take that live. Stay with us, please. Bernardo, you too, if you can.
So it's really important for there's a great deal of things that have to be explained in a little more slowly. So,
but in terms of the sentence, how does he feel about the sentence?
Well, I mean, obviously he's devastated. 30 years in prison is like a life sentence for him. But at the same time, you know, we knew the government was asking for 25 years. We were prepared for what the judge might impose. So it didn't come as a great big surprise. We were prepared for it, and we are now prepared to fight this appeal. For us, it's just the beginning of the fight, frankly. So we were prepared going in for today, and he's doing okay with it, despite
he had a chance to speak in his own defense. Why did he not want to make a statement?
A statement in allocution? Well, that was on advice of counsel. That was on my advice.
Why?
Because he has pending cases. It's obvious. He's got pending cases, and he has a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and I advised him to invoke that Fifth Amendment right. I promise you, he does want to make a statement. He will make statements eventually, but on the advice of counsel, he remains silent today.
What can you say to convince the public that he is not guilty? How soon will you put in this appeal?
Okay, so the appeal will lay out that the enterprise that was charged, as you will see if you've read my post-trial motions, which you probably have not, our position is this was not a RICO or racketeering act violation. These were isolated events that happened many years ago, and the government simply tried to plead around the statute of limitations to bring it in a RICO charge, which was inappropriate. So, I mean, all I can tell you is there was no enterprise. There was no enterprise. It was one man with allegations by a number of women, which doesn't make it an enterprise. And that is why he's not guilty of racketeering.
You said
How many family members?
You said he was remorseful. What did you mean by that? You said he didn't have to confess, but that he was remorseful.
I said he has regrets and he is sad. Nobody wants to hear what he heard today. He's a human being. He feels when other people are feeling, but that doesn't mean that can accept responsibility in the way that the government would like him to and the way other people would like him to, because he disagrees. He is not, he disagrees with the characterizations that have been made about him. But that doesn't mean he's not a human being and can't feel something when other people are in pain.
Is his abuser here today? You said that his sister abused him as he was a kid. He has 4 people here today.
Yes, he has a number of friends here today. No, his sister is not here today. He's been estranged from her for quite some time. He has 2 brothers who are fully in support of him, who were also victims of sexual abuse in his household. So they are here in spirit, although not here personally. So no.
And what do you say to people who say he's a predator?
Have you had the opportunity to speak to Joy?
Yes, I speak to Joy regularly, and Joy is just fine. She is sad, but she told him, and she sent me a text message telling him to pray and put it in God's hands, and she loves him, and they're going to get through this. That's what she had to say to him.
Is he a predator?
No, he's not.
No, he's not a predator. Anything?
Where's the other members of the
Jennifer Bonjean, Bonjean.
Are you saying this is sexual abuse?
I'm sorry?
What did he say to you after the sentence?
We just went over some of the terms that the judge was reading to him. We didn't have a lot of time, but he was prepared for it. Okay.
We thank you.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of our Kelly supporters, we do support you.
Thank you very
for all your hard work. Thank you. Waiting on the appeal to come.
All right, well, there you go, the scene outside the courthouse after the sentencing of singer R. Kelly to 30 years in prison, a very heavy sentence. The federal sentencing, the judge was asked by the prosecutors for sentencing of more than 25 years. The defense was asking for a sentence of under 10 years because of his traumatized upbringing, as he testified, or as she communicated through witnesses. And I want to go to Aaron Katursky on that and on what we just heard. And on this is, look, sometimes you just have a very hard case, right? If you're defending R. Kelly, sometimes your guy did it. But do you think the way this was tried made it worse for him at sentencing?
Well, it was certainly tried in a unique way because it portrayed R. Kelly like a mafia boss in that he was convicted of racketeering, and it put him as the leader of an enterprise, a criminal enterprise that you heard the defense attorney deny. But it said that there was R. Kelly and there was this inner circle of advisors and hangers-on that existed primarily to lure women and girls for his sexual pleasure. And they forced some of them into labor, forced some of them to obey a set of his rules, punished those who they felt acted out, and many of these girls were quite young when they met R. Kelly and when they came into this world. And that's what they testified to during trial, and that's what they spoke today to the judge about ahead of sentencing. And the judge said that R. Kelly is somebody that society needs to be protected from. That's part of the reason she said she imposed the 30-year sentence. She said regardless of the guidelines, and there was a dispute about the federal sentencing guidelines and what should apply. Prosecutors said one thing, the defense said another. But the judge said it wasn't the guidelines, it was the conduct of R. Kelly.
And now sentenced to 30 years in prison. Bernarda, Terry and I were just chatting about what about all the aides and the friends and the posse around him, I mean, that knew what was going on. Could we see other people being charged, other people being sentenced to jail time as well?
I think this is definitely the judge did address this in her sentencing. She did address the numerous enablers that allowed this to happen, the people that were walking around and just looking a blind eye as to what was going on. But whether we'll see a prosecution of them, I doubt it, at least not right now, because if anything was going to come about, I think it would have came about doing an investigation. But I wouldn't say no at this time.
All right, Aaron, Bernarda, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.